Hello and welcome to another episode of Our Own Devices. This time with us is Sunil Raina of Lava, and I'm sure this is a company all of us know very well. We want to know better, and it is literally the only Indian company standing in the smartphone race. And I don't say that with a lot of happiness because there were some very good companies. We used to dominate the medium and the budget smartphone space. As of now, it is only Lava. But yes, let's look at the silver lining here, and we'll talk to Sunil about what is planned and what is happening. Sunil, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Nandu. It's good to see you after a long time and good to meet you and have this chat.
So after a long time, which also means that there was a quiet period and now suddenly we are in the happening space. So Sunil, can we start by you telling us what is happening with Lava? You had a series of phones which have come out in the past I think couple of years. You have a latest phone which came out recently, but if you could give a bigger picture about what all are you looking at?
Yeah, I think all of us know what happened in the time frame to 2016 onwards, and that led to this whole consolidation, not just in India but also globally. The smaller brands had to kind of vacate the space, and the bigger brands actually are today dominating the whole industry, so to say. Now, it was equally difficult for us as well, and we also went through our share of trouble around that time. But I think what we had done, few things which we always believed in, was that it is the consumer experience which is extremely important, and to achieve that, you have to fundamentally do certain things consistently for a period of time. So couple of those things that which we did, and actually others were not doing so much, was investing in the product capability, which means investing in manufacturing, investing in design of our own, and also in supply chain. And that's what we did for the last 4 or 5 years consistently, although we were doing it for a very long time. But after this disruption, we realized that no, it's the most important thing that we must focus on. So as a result, what you've seen the last 1.5 years, practically what we call Lava 2.0, it's been kind of a transformation from our side. Practically in terms of the thought process, of course, we're still working on many things that need to still happen. But in terms of our thought process, and therefore changing the whole strategy of how do you approach this industry with a fresh thought, considering that the players out there are very large now. In fact, they're global players, and we are Indian company. So that is I would say, a very difficult task to kind of compete in this space. What we have done is that we have looked at the basics of what matters to the consumers. We went to the drawing board and picked up 3-4 areas where we felt that consumers are not happy with what they're getting today. And we did our R&D, and we kind of looked at the whole structure internally to see how we can really differentiate ourselves in that area. And that area was the consumer experience piece, which is what happens after you have purchased the device. What experience do you get, both from the product as well as in the after sales service? So we changed many things around that, and the result of that is today we are growing at about 300% over last year, and last year we grew at about 200% over previous year, while industry is degrowing around 8 to 10%. So the growth has been pretty good, and we're looking at much bigger growth. In fact, if you remember earlier, we used to be primarily operating in sub 10,000 segment, and recently with Me Too, we also entered the 20K plus price segment, and the response that we got was amazing. A lot of love we received. So that's where we are today.
I remember a few years back, whenever we talked about Indian brands, we would always say they know this market very well, right? Their strength is in understanding market, especially going deep into India and selling where it matters. Now, so how do you look at the present, the Lava 2.0? What do you think will be your advantage now?
So, if you see on the downstream side, which is your sales and distribution, your customer service, your marketing, I think Indian brands always did a very good job of it. In fact, even today we have perhaps the second largest distribution network in the country. We reach about 120,000 retailers across India. And we also have 1,000 distributors. So that strength we always had. But I think what we needed to work harder on, and which we did, was building the product capability. So one is, of course, you have to be in tune with the latest technology. So that's very important, because consumers in this space, they want to have the latest, whatever is available latest, and you can't be behind on that. So you have to make sure that you have access to the right set of components and the right technology at the right time. So that's something that was very important, and which we in a way cracked in the last couple of years. So now, like we introduced curved display at 20,000 rupees price point, which was the first in the world, so to say. And also it also had the latest Dimensity 7050 processor, so on and so forth. In fact, just yesterday we announced 5G Blaze Pro 5G, which is 12,500 rupees price point. Very aggressive in terms of specs, in terms of pricing. So that's what we lacked earlier as a group of companies. We all lacked that. That was because, actually when this disruption took place, we were still very young as companies. We all started in about 2009. And by the time the disruption came, we were just 6 to 7 years old companies. That's not much in the life of any company, so to say. But then now we are about 13 years old, so 14 years old company, and the last 4 or 5 years we worked harder and bridged the gap that we had on the product capability side. That's what we've changed.
So it is interesting that you talk about product, because this is also happening at a time where, see, the India that you had before this is not that India, right? So you also have an India which is not that dependent on the Chinese ecosystem anymore. It is still to a certain extent, but no, you still have a lot of things that have happened in India. The ecosystem is slowly being built up. So how do you think that product capability you are building is going to help you, in this new changed India?
Yeah. So what we have done, actually, I'll tell you specifically what we have changed, and that's, like you said, we understand the space very well, but we did customer understanding a little deeper, and we found 3 key areas where the smartphone customers were not getting the optimum experience from their devices on the product side. One was, I'm sure all of you, we have all heard this chatter about bloatware. So every phone today comes with loads of bloatware in it, and which is actually an experience that consumers totally detest now. It's not the same consumer who used to buy earlier. It was his first time phone or a second time smartphone. The people are now at about 3rd, 4th, 5th smartphone generation, so to say. Now they clearly understand that this bloatware in the phone, it compromises the experience, and it also compromises the security in the phone. So that's something they are not very happy about. So we took a call saying that, as a principled call, that we will not put any bloatware in the phone, which also means that we actually sacrificed the money that one could earn from that. But we believe that eventually everybody will have to sacrifice that, because when consumers don't like something, you have to give it up. So that money is anyways not going to come to you in the longer run. And it is better that we start giving that clean, pure experience to consumers and make them feel good about the product. That was one. And second is one big issue that we saw is that, when it comes to, let's say, less than 15,000 rupees price point devices, but typically brands do not give updates and upgrades. Or sometimes they will give it and sometimes they will not give it at all, and sometimes it's very inconsistent. There's no continuity to giving those updates. So what we did is we said, for every phone that we launch, whether it is a 6,000 rupees phone or a 20,000 rupees phone or a 30,000 rupees phone, the treatment in terms of software updates and upgrades will be similar. So every phone of ours gets quarterly updates now. The security patches that are released along with bug fixes and experience enhancements. So all of that is done very regularly now. And also we promise Android upgrades now, because consumers are more aware, they're knowledgeable, and they know that it's important to keep the phone updated. So we do that as well. And we have not missed even once in the last 2 years that we have done. We've done it completely regularly, not missed even once. And then the third important thing was, which is one, I would say, contextual as well as customer experience led, which is the the customer service part of it. If you see, India is a very large country. There are about 650,000 villages in the country. And having 700, 800 service centers is never going to be sufficient. So that's one part of it. So you cannot have service center everywhere.
Yeah.
But that's the maximum that you can do, maybe 1,000 service centers at best. That's what you see today. Which means that people will have to step out of their house and go to a service center, maybe leave the device behind and go back and collect it, and all those things are there. That's one part. Second part is the whole change in the whole technology space, where the younger lot, they do not want to step out of their house for anything. Everything comes home. Even the food, clothes, etc. Everything comes home. So therefore, they are also expecting that when it comes to service, that also happens at home. Now, there's another fundamental reason why we did that is because, every phone company gives warranty for 1 year, which actually means that for that 1 year period of time, if there's a fault in the phone, I will consider it to be my fault. Therefore, repair it for free of charge to you. Which in effect means that, you have to minimize the trouble to the customer once the fault happens in the phone, because the fault is not of the customer, it is of the company. Now, what happens, if you've seen that, the moment that there's an issue in the phone, the customer has to actually run around a lot. So we wanted to minimize that trouble, therefore decided to give service at home. So all you have to do is, if there's something wrong with the phone, you call us up or send us a WhatsApp or whatever, reach us via website. Then our person will come to your home. If it is a software fault, they will resolve it then and there itself, even the smaller hardware fault. But if it's a bigger fault, they'll take it back, fix it, and bring it back to you. So you don't have to step out of your house. In fact, not just house, anywhere, right? You can call us to office, you can call us to, in fact, one very interesting thing happened. So there was this person whose phone was repaired in the running train. Our service guy went to the and went with him and fixed the phone and got down from another station. So it's just that kind of service. And that's something that we changed, and people are really appreciating all this.
So in the present scenario, a lot of conversations happening about us getting our own microchip, manufacturing. How do you think that is going to benefit a company like Lava?
Today we have to source all of this from outside India. Now, the problem with that is that one, there can be supply chain disruptions anytime. We have seen it in the past, and we were so dependent on the other countries that we for a very long period of time we were struggling with getting the right supply, especially the chipsets was the main issue. That's one part. Second, I think because when the manufacturing of these chips happens in India, the costs that you have in India are lower, both the labor costs and there are government incentives also along with that. So all of we believe the costs will come down. And also the duties which are levied today, those also will get removed. So net, I think it'll be much more cost efficient operation for us, and therefore the devices we can build them at a lower price and maybe pass it on to the consumers. That'll be a big change.
So after COVID, we have seen how the price of the affordable phone itself has gone up a little bit, right? Because of many factors, global factors. So do you think that having more manufacturing within India could bring it down to maybe closer to that 10,000 kind of range?
I think it should, because like I said, the cost, let's say today most of the ecosystem is in China, right? and China has grown tremendously over the last couple of decades, and their GDP is now almost 5 times that of India. But also the wages there have gone up almost 3 times
drastically. Yes.
So all that is an advantage that India has, which means what is produced there can be produced at a much lower cost in India. That will benefit globally, actually, not just in India, but globally. That's why, this whole shift of all countries and all companies wanting to set their manufacturing shop in India so that these costs can be brought down, and also dependency on one country can be reduced.
Yeah. Also, we spoke about how India has changed in the past few years, but I'm sure the consumer has also changed, right? Your potential consumer has changed. A lot of them have moved up the value chain and maybe are no longer in your bracket. So how are you looking at that? Like, how do you tackle something like that? Because, but obviously you will have a lot of people maybe who were then like a feature phone kind of in that segment, having moved up into the segment where you think you can tap into them. But there, and you mentioned it a little bit, that their expectation from a device has changed because it's a little bit more, aggressive than it used to be. So how do you tackle something like that?
So I think, see, one important thing that has happened, because like you said, the feature phone was a very, very large part of this industry, and therefore some movement has happened. But, if you look at, so India's age is about 27, 28 years of age. So we are a young country per se.
Yeah.
Now, what we've seen from our data is that the younger population is directly, taking smartphones as their first device, versus this route which used to be taken earlier, that you would first buy a feature phone and then you would go to a smartphone. So you will see today that, there are the average age of feature phone customers is much higher compared to average age of the smartphone customers. Now that has obviously that's a good thing as well as a challenging thing, because you're now talking to a very different set of people that you used to do earlier. But it's been very interesting for us. Like I said, we did a lot of research among these people, among these young people, and we realized that there are certain basic things which intuitively looked correct, and they have been wanting it, and they've been actually raising their voice about it, that the kind of experience that they want. Because if you see this young population across the category, when I talk to people, they all say this is more experiential led consumers which have come into the picture now. Earlier it used to be, okay, you buy it once and owning it was the important thing. But now, because there's so much awareness and there is so much knowledge about technology that we have, the expectations are pretty high. At the same time, they also want the value for money proposition from you. And it's not that, you would want to give lesser features and, they will be happy with it. They would want everything.
Yeah.
At the same time, it has to fit in their budget. So that challenge is very, very interesting to solve.
Yeah. So I have one last question, Sunil. You are still facing a lot of challenges, right? And you are competing with large global players. What do you think is the biggest challenge even now?
I think so today if I have to say what is my single largest challenge, it is the scale that I have. Because I'm competing against a much larger scale that we have.
Yeah.
And so I have to break the cycle of, because scale gives you many advantages. Even your costs are lower and your customer acceptance is also higher. So now with these unique interventions that we are doing, with this consumer-centric approach that we have taken, we are seeing that there's a lot of interest that is getting generated. And also, if you remember earlier, you said it, I've heard you say it a couple of times, that consumers want to buy Indian products, right?
Yes.
But Indian products have to be worthy of being purchased. Right?
Yeah. Even now, there are a lot of people who ask me, tell me a phone that I can buy from an Indian brand, and I, often cannot recommend with the requirement that they have.
So that's what we have tried to change over the last couple of years. That first, what we give to the consumers has to be worthy of acceptance. And then on top of that, you have an advantage which nobody else has, which is that we are Indians, and people would prefer to buy Indian products. So we believe this combination of we doing the right work on the product side and also other experiences that we have talked about, plus this Indian sentiment that people are really strongly associated with now, we will be able to grow our market share faster. And the challenge that we have, like I said, the wide gap in the scale between the bigger players and us, that's one key thing that we have to maybe bridge faster. That's one challenge we have.
So Sunil, thanks for being on the show. And here is hoping from all of us that we will start hearing Lava again in the same kind of scale that we used to listen to a few years back. And we will, of course, have more Indian brands that come into the space.
Thank you, Nandu. Thanks a lot for your time. Thank you so much.
Yeah. So you were listening to Sunil Raina of Lava. We'll be back again next week with another guest, lot more insight. Until then, we are available everywhere you listen to your podcast.